I'm excited that y'all are here, and I hope that you'll learn something that you'll want to implement into your lives every day. So before we get started, if we could, just say a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for these ladies. Thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to share bread with them, dear Heavenly Father, and to share the bread of life with them, Lord. I pray that you would just be with me. I pray that you would give me the words you would have me to say. And I pray that in all things, Lord, you would be glorified. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' holy and precious name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, so on your handouts, my handouts might be in a little bit different order, but some of this is the bread of life. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me hath everlasting life. I am the bread of life. So we want to start out today. I want to read you some scripture from Genesis 1. I'm going to start with verse 11. It says, And God said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, an herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the third day. Verse 26, And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and to every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female he created them. And then verse 29 and 31, And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree, yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So, excuse me. In the book of Exodus, we read that God's people, the Israelites, had been entrapped in slavery to the Egyptians, and their labor was backbreaking, and they were crying out to the Lord. And God, through a series of plagues, empowered Moses to free them from Egypt and to bring them out. And while they were wandering out in the wilderness, the people started to question if Moses had brought them there or why he freed them. He said, they asked him if God had brought them into the wilderness to starve. Exodus 16:4 says, Then said the Lord unto Moses, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day. This bread from heaven appeared by morning the 40 years until the people reached the promised land and ate the fruit of the land. God showed his power and love for the children of Israel in the desert by providing the bread from heaven, or manna. So if we fast forward from there, excuse me just a second, got sniffles this morning. If we fast forward 1,500 years, God again shows his compassion on a large gathering. And in John 6, we see the account of Jesus feeding the multitude. They were following him because they had seen his miracles, which he had done. And he had done on them that were diseased. And Jesus took the loaves, and when they had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples delivered to them that were set down. When they were filled, the disciples gathered the leftovers and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of 5 barley loaves. Then the people remembered the bread from heaven that God had provided for their ancestors. So we see God's provision in the bread, right? The true bread, though, is Jesus Christ. Exodus 16:15 said, And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It's manna, for wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. So the Lord provided manna for their temporary physical needs while they wandered in the desert. In John 6:32, and Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. And that's John chapter 6. So Jesus satisfies our eternal spiritual need, where that bread in the wilderness satisfied a temporary physical need. So what could be more satisfying to us than partaking of the bread of life? And the verse that's on my apron here, Psalm 34:8 says, O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. So again, I'm glad you're all here. And I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on here. Just making sure that was done. This is my meal. This is a bread machine. This particular bread machine is strong enough to need whole wheat bread. Every bread machine is not. I've had some cheap bread machines that made terrible whole wheat bread. I've already got a loaf started in here. In your handout you have the recipe. And what I put in here is that recipe that's on your handout. I put it in there in the order it's listed on the handout. And this should be ready before the end of our class, and we can have a warm slice of bread. But I wanted to bring this to show you because a lot of people think, I don't have time to make bread. This has also a timer on it, so you can put all your ingredients in there at night, set your timer, and have warm bread when you wake up in the morning. If you work, you can set it to start 2.5 hours before you get home from work, and when you come in the door, you have warm bread waiting on you. You can also set it to make just your dough. So if you wanted to have pizza for dinner at night, you could set it to make your dough and have your dough ready when you get in, and then you're ready to shape your dough for your pizza. So that's a time saver. This does not make, it makes a huge loaf. You'll see that at the end, if it turns out right. You'll see at the end it's a tall loaf. And when we cut a slice of it, we have to cut the slice in half and make a sandwich with just one of those tall slices of bread. The bread will not be as soft as when you make it the other way with the mixer. But it'll still be good, it'll still be nutritious, you'll still love it, but you'll have that time saver if you need it.
So that's basically like, you wouldn't need that.
You need the mixer. You still have to mill your flour.
So you literally, okay, I just have to see whenever it's done, I want to see what it looks like on the inside. So you literally just like throw all your ingredients in there, and it just kind of just...
It'll mix it, it'll let it rise, and then it'll flatten it out, it'll let it rise
and
again,
it bakes it,
and then
or is
it'll
it
bake.
just
It will bake the bread. You'll smell it when it starts cooking.
What a wonderful
cinnamon
machine.
rolls.
It's like the crock pot for bread.
Yes.
I wish I could put a full meal in it instead of having to get a meat.
We're going to talk about how nutritious the bread is, so you might be thinking, oh, that's about a full meal. But this is my meal. There's several different kinds of meals. I've already milled the flour for our bread. We're going to make some muffins later, so I'm going to demonstrate the milling then. But it just takes a while to mill that much flour at one time, so I had it ready for us. And this is my mixer. You can make bread by hand, the way our ancestors did. I personally have never done that. I have bad wrists. I don't know that I will do that, but you can do it that way. If you have a KitchenAid mixer, you can make bread. If you have a KitchenAid mixer and you make bread with it, I would not do more than the one recipe. I wouldn't double it in a KitchenAid mixer. And if you were to fill your mixer and feel that it was getting warm, I would just turn it off for a couple minutes, let it cool, and then let it continue doing what it's doing. I made bread when I first started with my KitchenAid mixer. I moved up to this particular mixer because I teach classes, and a lot of times I need to do double or triple loaves. Plus, I make all our bread for home, and we have 3 teenage boys in the house, so I keep it busy. But you don't need this one to start out with. This would be like to start out, ground level, you would need a KitchenAid or a comparably strong mixer like that, not a hand mixer. This is what I would call probably the top of the line before you get to a commercial mixer. So you don't need this to start out with, but I do need it in order to do double and triple recipes all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. You have your recipe in the book, and that makes, the recipe that you have will make 2 1-pound loaves or 1 2-pound loaf. Today, I'm going to be making 4 1-pound loaves, so I'm going to double the recipe because we have a small class today, so I'm just going to double it. So what you see me put in here is going to be more than what you would do for that one recipe. I just wanted to make sure that was clear so y'all didn't think, oh my goodness, that's not enough flour. But
I don't know if I have the recipe. Do I?
it should be in there. I'm
It's
sorry.
on.
Ah.
I apologize for that.
Good
My
to know.
handout used to be like
What?
11 pages long, and I tried to condense it, but in condensing it, it got out of order with my handout, so I haven't remedied that yet. So what we're going to start with today is water. We're going to use, this is filtered water. Hey Janice, come on in and sit down.
Okay.
This is filtered water. Always use filtered water when you make bread, because our water straight from the tap has antibacterial properties to it. And yeast is a bacteria, and you don't want the water to kill your yeast. So always start with this. I'm going to heat this up just a little bit. Think baby bottle warm, kind of, not hot, but just a little warm. So you would put your ingredients in here in the order that's listed. Except for I would put the flax before I put all my flour, but basically it's the same. So the next would be the oil and the honey, and I have this in here and it's mixed together. I've already measured out everything to save time. So this is my oil and my honey mixed together, and just a little hint for you, if you measure your oil first before your honey, then your honey comes right out of your measuring cup. This isn't going to come out because it's been sitting too long, but see it all the honey went to the bottom. You don't have to use necessarily local honey. Local honey has, if you have allergies, that's really good for you to use local honey. But when you cook, you're going to kill some of those enzymes that make it local, that make it good for you for being local. So what I use a lot of times when I have a friend who gives me honey, I use that because it's free. But I use, and you don't have to use these brands, but at Costco they have this Southeast raw unfiltered honey. I do use raw unfiltered honey. And I choose this one because the honey comes from the Southeast. But it's not going to be as expensive as that local honey that you buy. So that's fine for baking because those properties that help with your allergies are going to be killed in the baking. The nutrition's still going to be there. It's just that whatever it is that makes it local, the pollens, I guess. So this is just a picture of some of the brands that I use. You do not have to use these brands, but I brought this because people always ask me, well, what do you use? So that's it. So next we have our salt. And this is Redmond's Real Salt. It is a sea salt. This is what the package looks like. It has, I don't know if you can see, we can pass this package around. And y'all are welcome to come up here and look anytime you want to come and look. Don't feel like you're
Get
glued.
that at Costco too?
Okay.
No.
I think you can get it at Publix. Somebody told me you could get it at Publix, but you can see there's, it has the minerals in it. It's not been, those minerals have not been filtered out. This has not been bleached, and it does not have an anti-caking agent added to it like table salt does. Your body will recognize this, that anti-caking thing that they put in it to make it like Morton salt. When it rains, it pours. It's not good for our bodies. And in my opinion, that's why people can't have salt anymore, because it dries the salt, so it dries the inside of our body. So this is much better for you, a good sea salt. This is what I use. This is an unrefined mineral salt, and it's an ancient fine sea salt. So this is what I use.
If y'all have Amazon, it's on Amazon. I just ordered it. It's coming to the house. Look on Amazon and just
order it.
There you go.
And I'll
There you
tell you
go.
some more about where I get stuff as we go along. So that's my salt. I've already measured out. Then this double recipe is going to call for 2 eggs. Actually, I have one right here.
That's Mrs. eggs probably too.
Oh yeah, no, Ricky's eggs. These come from Ricky's chickens. These are fresh from the farm.
Yeah, I've had some good ones from y'all. He said, I'm gonna buy you some chickens, Deniece, you eating too many eggs. I'll never like you to eat it. I said, I'll have that broken.
Rinse my hands off.
You could do this with one month, and off for a spoon. You're jumping.
All right, and then lecithin is the next ingredient, and this is called sunflower lecithin. You can get soy lecithin, but it also comes in a liquid form. If you get the liquid form, might mess up your ratio of liquid to dry ingredients. So if you can use the liquid form, just be aware that you might mess up the liquid a little bit. This is you can see it. It's used. A lot of people use it for a supplement, but this will make your bread softer, and we'll talk a little bit more about what this does later on. But you can get this on Amazon, and I'll tell you where I order most of my stuff from. This one that I bought here, I bought at the vitamin shop, because people use it as a supplement, so you can get it there. I prefer the sunflower over the soy, because soy a lot of times has chemicals on it, so that's what that is. The next thing says flour probably on yours, but I have flaxseed. These are golden flaxseed. Flax seeds are very nutritious for your body. Just like the wheat, I didn't say that. You have to grind the wheat and use it, or it will start to oxidize, and within 72 hours, 92% of the nutrition that God placed in those kernels of wheat will be oxidized out. That's why you can't buy this flour sitting on the shelf, because it would be rancid and it wouldn't have the nutrition left to it. So the same with the seeds. We want to grind the seeds before we use them, so that we get all the nutrition that's inside the little seed. You can buy pre-ground flaxseed in the store, but just be aware that it's not going to be as nutritious as grinding your own. I grind mine with a coffee grinder. Can y'all see that? I think they're like about 20 bucks on Amazon, not very expensive at all. And this one, I don't grind anything in here except for my seeds.
Now, Deniece, can you give me a list of the whole food store from yonder? Or this way?
We'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to get to the ingredients.
Okay.
In order to get all of the nutrition from the flaxseed, they need to be ground. You can eat them whole, and that would be a good source of fiber if you eat them whole. But in order for your body to use all the nutrition, they need to be ground. So I'm grinding these to put in there. You may see in your bread that there's a few whole seeds that don't get ground, and that's fine. They're still good fiber, but you're getting the most nutrition from the ones that were ground.
Is that a half cup before grinding or after grinding?
It's after. When you do it very often, particular coffee grinder has a line in it that says max fill, and I know where to put it to measure out for my loaf of bread. I did measure out this before I bought it, so that it would come out to be the right amount. All right, the next one is the flour. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. This particular mixer has this roller instead of a dough hook. Any other mixer, you would want to make sure you're using the dough hook. This one has a dough hook, but the roller does better with this whole wheat flour. So you will need a dough hook with your mixer. So I'm going to turn this on just to get it started mixing. And I'm going to add the flour slowly. Whoa. Always be sure you take your spatula out.
Ah,
I was gonna say.
It's hard for me to see down in here. I couldn't see that I left it in there, so. No harm done, just get all that piece.
I'm just gonna
back
show
down
it where
there.
you ripped it up.
Oh, it wouldn't rip it. This is soft.
You make so much, you may about make it in your sleep.
Right, so I'm just gonna let that start mixing up, and then I'm gonna start adding the flour. You wanna add the flour slowly. Always forgot my water. And again, that was just warm water, it's not hot water. I think it says hot water, but you don't want it to be like boiling hot, just baby bottle water. So we'll add the flour slowly so that it can mix with the dry ingredients. This one you can move in and out to make it pick up your flour that might be stuck spinning around. I'm going to get all this in here and let it get incorporated into the water, and then we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes so that the flour can absorb the liquids. And the reason we do that, you wouldn't normally do that with white flour, but because this has the bran and all the minerals and everything, it takes a little bit longer for it to absorb the water, and your bread will be so much softer if you take the time to let it absorb some of the liquids.
How many loaves of bread have you made already?
Oh boy, I don't know.
You been bringing them to church and
A lot.
she's made a lot.
Yeah. See, yesterday I made a batch of dough to make up some cinnamon rolls, which I'm gonna pop in the oven in just a minute. And I made 2 in here, because I don't use this all the time. It was sitting on the shelf and I had loaned it to somebody, and I didn't check my settings and my bread fell. I'll show y'all a picture of what it looks like. So I checked all my settings, got everything back the way I like it, and made another loaf and it was fine. But I'll just tell you, the weather has a lot to do with it. And that first loaf I made yesterday was when it was a little bit stormy. So I guess the pressure in the air and the humidity and all contributes to it. And that could have had something to do with the settings also.
does it still taste the same, or it's just a different texture?
It tastes the same. If it falls, you might have a little doughy maybe like
Okay.
where it
That's the
falls.
way your
But
pound cakes do.
even ugly bread tastes
I was
good.
about to say, as long as it tastes
That
good.
really does,
I mean, it's probably not gonna look like this, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna do my best.
I don't make Instagram worthy bread 90% of the time. I do not. That's not my goal. My goal goal is to make nutritious bread.
Yeah, I
for
just
my
want to
family
eat it. I just
so,
want to eat it. The
yeah.
pizza dough is where you got me. We love pizza.
You want to add flour until it starts to pull away from the side of your bowl. With this one, it's a little bit different, but I can show you. If you want to come up here and look and see as I'm mixing it in. It's still sticking to the sides a little, but it's coming away. And if I do this, it makes like a donut.
Oh, yeah.
So it's away from the side. So I know I've probably got enough flour. I have a little bit of flour left. Once we start kneading, if I see that it's too wet, I can add a little bit more flour then.
Oh, look, Jane. Oh, that's Miss Jane.
You're so short.
It's so short you can't see in there.
Oh, yeah. You see it? Yeah.
So we're going to cut that off, and I'm just going to put this towel over it, and we're going to give it about 10 minutes. And I'm going to put the cinnamon rolls in. I'm going to tell you about the cinnamon rolls. I made the recipe that you have in your handout, and I made actually 18 cinnamon rolls with this. If you make 12 with that recipe, they're great. They're as big as your head. They're so big. They would be up to here already before baking, and then they would rise some more. So I don't like to make them quite that big. So I usually, when I make them for a class, I'll make 12, and then I'll put 6 in a little container for us to eat.
Yeah.
It's just the same dough. I use the same dough to make cinnamon rolls, hamburger buns, dinner rolls, and my bread. I do have a different recipe for tortillas and a different recipe for pizza dough. You can make pizza with this, but the recipe for pizza dough makes better pizza dough. So, and this has an ooey gooey filling in it. If you want to write this on your paper, it's 1.5 cups of brown sugar. A tablespoon of cinnamon and 6 tablespoons. You need a pen. There's one back there on the table.
I think I took it.
Oh, you took it? Okay. Let's see. I had another one down in that box.
You will have more than one point. One and a half cups of like this one.
Anybody else have anyone?
Brown sugar.
I do.
That's
Is that right?
Half cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar.
I should bring extras anyway.
Cinnamon. I mean, tablespoon. Tablespoon of cinnamon.
So it's 1.5 cups of brown sugar. And these are a treat, by the way. These are not something you want to eat every day. 1.5 cups of brown sugar, a tablespoon, I like a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon because I like the taste of cinnamon. And then 6 tablespoons of melted butter, and you mix that together. So I would take the dough after it's completed.
The butter, does it matter if it's salty or unsalted?
I usually just use salted butter because I forget that I have unsalted in the fridge. A little bit of salt makes sweeter anyway. So you take your dough, you roll it out on the table. You'll make it about a little bit longer than this, about like this, and you make a rectangle. You take the ooey gooey stuff and you spread it all over, and then you roll the dough up, and then you slice your cinnamon rolls off of it. So that's what I did. I'm gonna pop these in the oven. These will take 20 to 25 minutes to cook. So we're gonna start with 20.
What do you put the oven on?
What did she say about salt?
The salt makes, yeah, if you use something salty, it makes the sweet treat taste.
Okay.
A lot of times when you're making desserts, they'll tell you to put a pinch of salt. gonna set the timer on this too, so.
6 tablespoons of butter, is that what you said?
Melted butter.
Melted butter.
Mhm.
And then what else?
Why I cut brown sugar.
I got that.
6
I'm gonna
ounces
check the
of
cinnamon rolls after 20 minutes and see how they're doing. The ones in the middle need a little bit longer, but I don't want the ones on the outside to get too dark. You have to just get used to your oven, and then you can pretty much go from there. So while this is doing, our cinnamon rolls are cooking, we'll go back to our handout. So Jesus compared himself to the Bible. Jesus called himself the bread of life. Bread that's made from freshly milled flour is life-giving and life-sustaining. The same as Jesus is life-giving and life-sustaining for our souls. So as the days get shorter, I guess you could say, as we move along in time, the days are going to become more and more evil, and Satan is going to be doing more and more to discredit Jesus. If he can convince the world that bread is bad for you and nobody needs to eat bread, bread's going to make you sick, don't have gluten, all these things that you hear all the time. If he can convince the world that bread is bad, how are we going to convince the world? Or we don't have to, the Holy Spirit has to convict, but how are we going to witness to people and tell them that Jesus is our bread of life? When the first thing they think of when you hear bread is, oh, nobody needs bread. So Satan is a sly one, and I think his hand is in a lot of that. So if the life-giving bread to which Jesus compares himself can be brought into question, then the very name of Jesus and his saving power can be discredited as well. And I put a verse in here, 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, "Whether therefore you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do it all for the glory of God." We want to glorify God in everything that we do. And a lot of times we don't think to look at the Bible for our physical health. We know that we can find spiritual health here, but not physical. And there's a lot. The verses that I read you told you the foods that God created for us before he created us. He had everything perfectly planned and in place before he ever created us. So John 10:10 says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I, Jesus, the bread of life, am come that they may have life and that they might have it more abundantly." And I want to read you an excerpt from a book that I read called The Creation Diet by Joy Brown. She said, "The Bible teaches that there's an enemy, Satan, who is out to destroy all of God's creations. Satan knows that if we're imbalanced in spirit, soul, and body, we cannot accomplish what our Creator put us on earth to do. Satan wants us to live weak, sickly lives and die without having fulfilled our purposes in life. He's definitely out to take from us." So I put in your handout, this is where it starts getting out of order. It says bread used symbolically for spiritual principles. And I listed some scriptures in there that tells us how bread is used as a spiritual principle. Like Genesis 26 says it's used, well, it doesn't say, I'm not reading the verse, but it talks about the blessing and God being our provider. Deuteronomy, God the provider. I'm just going to skim through them a little bit. In the book of Ezekiel, God is our provider. In Samuel, it talks about blessing, unity, fellowship, forgiveness, and redemption. Bread is used in all of those ways. In the book of Ruth, God the provider, redemption, fellowship. In Samuel, blessing, unity, fellowship. In the New Testament, Jesus' body provides for us spiritual and redemption and fellowship. I think I hit on all of them, but I gave you those scriptures so that you can look through and read those references to bread in the Bible that refer to those different things. So bread is important in the Bible. And we'll talk a bit, or we might just flip back there. This one, it says bread is mentioned in the Bible 361 times. wheat 51 times, corn 102 times, grain 8 times, barley 37 times, leaven 23 times. Bread was and is important in the Bible, and it should be important to us. So let's talk a little bit about the wheat kernel. The first part is the bran. This outer part of the wheat is the bran, and this remains in the whole wheat. This part is what gets sifted away in the white flour that we have on the shelf. So the bran protects the nutrients that are on the inside of the kernel of wheat. And each of these layers has vitamins and minerals and insoluble and soluble fiber and proteins. Some of the enzymes that are on the outside of this that get thrown away or sold as animal feed are enzymes that help us to be able to digest what's on the inside of the kernel. So the people who are having trouble with digestion of wheat, and they call it gluten intolerance or I can't have gluten, God put an enzyme right here in the outside of it that will help us to digest that if we would do it. If we would, sorry, my timer's going off. If we would eat the whole grain. So he provided a way for us to be able to eat it. And just right now, in case I forget later, gluten is not in here. Gluten is a protein that's formed when you add water to the flour. And it helps the bread to be stretchy, so it rises and you get a good loaf of bread. The next part is the germ. And the germ is right here, it's the smallest part. It's the embryo of the kernel. It makes up 3% of the kernel. The germ is a rich source of vitamin B and E and 2 essential fats and proteins. And we're going to talk about that, how important that is in just a minute. And the endosperm is the largest part here, and that's the only part that remains in the white flour that you buy on the shelf. That is starch. So it doesn't have any of the fiber or vitamins or minerals to help your body to digest it. Starch goes right to your blood sugar and raises your blood sugar. So it makes up 83% of the kernel. It's the only part that remains in the white flour. And just back here when we were talking about the embryo, there's oils in there. The vitamin E oil is in there. If they left that vitamin E oil in there, it would make the flour go rancid. That's why the only part they use is that starch, because they don't want it to go rancid.
I have a question, Denise. So so I can explain this to other people. Whenever they take this is the wheat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the stores, we just eat the middle part. That's not good for you. How do they get that?
They sift it out.
Okay. So they don't use like a mill.
They mill the wheat, but they're called steel roller mills.
Okay.
And they sift out the bran and the germ.
And it just kind of like.
And
Why
the
do they
only
do
thing
that?
that's left is, well, I'll tell you, we're going to
Okay.
talk a little
I'm
bit
sorry,
about
I'm
white
getting
flour in a minute.
Okay.
I'm not putting you off.
No,
I
no,
just
no, it's
wanna-
good, it's
I want to
good.
get to
Yeah.
it. So, all right, so once the kernel is broken by milling, the nutrients start to oxidize, which I told you earlier. If you think about peeling an apple or peeling a banana and they turn brown, that's what happens once you mill the wheat. So within 72 hours, 92% of all the nutrients are gone. You can freeze the flour to slow down that oxidation process, but it's still going to oxidize even though it's frozen. So the absence of nutrients and the fiber is the leading cause of many health problems that we have today. All right, and I'm going to stop right there for just a minute. I'm going to turn this back on because we've let our wheat absorb some of the liquid. And I'm going to put, before I do that, I'm going to put the yeast in it. So I didn't want the yeast in there before because then it would start rising before it needed. So the yeast goes in at this point. And this is just instant yeast. That's one brand. You can get it at Sam's. I have a hard time finding it in bulk in the grocery store. It's kind of hit or miss, but usually it's just maybe a jar of yeast. These cakes it's about $7 to buy it in a cake. It's much more reasonable to buy it in a big cake than it is to buy the little packets and jars. But it is instant yeast. So this particular mixer has a timer on it. So I'm going to go ahead and set it for 12. Well, I'm going to do 8 and then we'll look at it. I know it takes about 12, 14 minutes to knead. So that's doing what our hands would do. So a little bit of the history of white flour is on this next sheet, and this is going to answer some of your questions, Sarah. So when the steel roller mills came and they started separating all that out, people started to get sick. They got diseases like pellagra and beriberi. I don't know a lot about those diseases, but they were diseases that affected your mind. And shortly after, they started milling it out and selling the white flour to the population. People got rid of their mills at home. They just went to the miller and bought their flour, and eventually bought it from the grocery store shelves. The people started getting sick, and they started building more and more sanitariums, especially in the South. It was really prevalent in the South for some reason. I don't know what that was, but that they figured out that there was a lack of B vitamins and vitamin E, different things like that were causing people to get sick. So the government went to the millers. They said, you're going to have to start adding all that back into the flour because the population's getting sick and we're building all these sanitariums because people are losing their mind. So their solution, well, first of all, they said no. The reason they said no is because everything that they sifted out, they sold for animal feed.
They're making money.
They were making lots of money. So they didn't want to add it back. Plus, when they added back, it couldn't sit on the shelf and be shelf stable. So they added back B1, B2, B3, and iron in synthetic forms, not natural the way God had put them inside of the grain. So they're synthetic forms of 4 vitamins they added back. And later on in time, they figured out that there was a problem with the folic acid that was missing, and there was birth defects. And there was a lot of them, and they traced it back to the wheat also. So they started adding back a synthetic form of folic acid, or I think the natural form would be called folate, but the synthetic is folic acid. So they added 5 nutrients back. Look at this list right here. This is a list of all the vitamins and minerals that are in the wheat that I ground right here. It whole. This is all that's in there. This column is the percentage of vitamins and minerals lost in the white wheat that's on the shelf, in the bread that you buy in the grocery store, in anything that you buy that has flour in it. You're missing all of this. If you remember in COVID, what did they say we needed? It was all over the news, COVID. Zinc and magnesium, all that. Look at the zinc. 98% of the zinc was gone. So we needed it to fight COVID. We're missing a lot of things that we need to naturally fight diseases. So this right here was like the biggest selling point for me to switch to the freshly milled flour, because it's hard to get a lot of nutrition in your family, isn't it?
How do you pronounce the first one? Is it thiamine? How do you say that?
I say thiamine.
Thiamine. So what's interesting, you know how like depression and anxiety is like huge right now with all this, so like magnesium, it's truly a lack of like the thiamine, magnesium. Like I've been like researching a lot of that stuff too, and like ADHD. We need that stuff, and that's like the highest percentage that's taken out. Love this thing. She's doing great. She's doing wonderful. She's doing good. She's really good.
It's amazing. And if you look here, our bodies need fiber. As you get older, you go to the doctor. What does your doctor tell you? Eat more fiber, we need more fiber. So we need insoluble and soluble fiber, and you'll see where you can get those types of fiber. But listen to the diseases that could be prevented if we had enough fiber in our diet. Appendicitis, colon cancer, constipation, Crohn's disease, diverticular disease, hemorrhoids, hiatal hernia, obesity, spastic colon, ulcerative colitis, varicose veins, gallstones, high blood pressure, and hypoglycemia. And is there anything on there that you've not heard of? Those kind of things can be prevented if we have enough fiber in our diet. Whole wheat flour, whole grains that you're eating are going to have that kind of fiber in it that your bodies need. So, this is doing pretty good. I want to stop it a minute because I want to jump and look at it. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to tip it. Can you see how shaggy it looks?
Oh, yeah.
It's not smooth. We want to get it to a smooth consistency. So, and this is just gently kneading. You don't need to put your mixer on a high speed. A lot of people think when you're doing it because it's stiff that you need to do it higher speed, but you don't. You just need that slow, gentle. Think about how gentle you would be if you were actually just doing it with your hands. You wouldn't be going really fast and hard. So just a gentle speed. Probably, let's see, on the KitchenAid, I'm trying to remember, maybe not over 4 on the KitchenAid. This one said at 2. So you just have to play with your mixer. You just don't need a high speed on there.
Are we gonna get a copy of the video, or are you gonna come with us?
Yeah, right.
We get replay.
Replay.
Oh yes, this is
Well,
it.
we'll see. This is my first
Put
time.
it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, so instead of truly, this is just how my brain is. I could just throw these ingredients in this machine, and it's going to do what this is doing right now. That's all I need to know.
You could
Well,
put
you're
on,
like
You'll
Christmas
see the
gifts.
difference. You'll see the difference.
you could have.
But you still have to have this. You still have to have this.
I'll get the bill. I'll do the bill. Oh, you just Sarah? Never mind. We'll come
She
later.
does.
Okay, cool.
Did you hear us? You can be like that Brenda woman who did her own show on video.
I'm not much for being filmed or having my picture made, so this is way outside my comfort zone. All right, so getting started making bread, this little handout here. Back in February of last year, not this year, I attended a class and the lady actually had updated these figures. So these are over a year old, so prices have changed a good bit since this was made, but it's still pretty close. She figured out how much it costs to make a basic loaf of bread. I use some extra ingredients. I use the flaxseed and the lecithin in mine, so mine would be a little bit more, but those are optional, and I put what's optional on your recipe so that you would know. But whenever I teach a class and I make bread, I make it the way I make it. I use those optional ingredients because I know it tastes good and I want you to experience it that way. But you don't have to have it, it still makes good bread. So I went to the store. She figured out that for a 1 pound loaf, it was $2.32 per loaf for a 1 pound loaf. Most of the bread in the store is a little bit bigger than 1 pound. So Ezekiel bread in the freezer section of your grocery store is going to be the closest to this bread that we're making today. It was, it's Ezekiel 419 bread. It was $7.19 for a 24-ounce loaf. Dave's Killer Bread is just on the shelf, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I just heard a lot of people say, "Oh, why Dave's Killer Bread?" It has some seeds in it. I'm sure it's more nutritious than just regular grocery store bread, but it was $5.99 for a 20.5-ounce loaf. Nature's Own bread, the regular price of Nature's Own whole wheat bread was $4.29 at the time I looked this up, and that's for a 20-ounce loaf. So you can see it's not more expensive to make the bread. After you buy your equipment that you're gonna need, if you know, you have to have the mill, but if you buy anything else, that's gonna, you just have to factor that in over time. That's just the way things are.
So if you buy that 19-pound bread that we're talking about down there at the store, is that as good for you?
What about the Ezekiel bread? Is that why they keep it in the freezer to kind of try to help protect
Yeah,
them?
it would go rancid on the shelf. So that's what I was saying, it's the closest to what we make today.
Okay,
But that's expensive for a 24-ounce loaf. That's a 2-pound loaf for $7.19. And you can see if you did a 2-pound loaf of this, it would be $4.64.
Yeah.
So hold on, let me check our cinnamon rolls.
That's it.
We'll give it about 4 more minutes on the cinnamon rolls. So I also heard, get to my notes, I have some notes on my phone.
Jan and I were asking what is mocktail.
What's what?
Mocktail.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute. We're gonna, this information up here, we're gonna go into a little bit more in just a minute. So, I buy my wheat in bulk. I buy it in 42-pound buckets. And the lady that I buy it from, she owns Bread Bakers. She figured it out, and you can get 28 2-pound loaves from that 42-pound bucket of wheat. The 42-pound bucket is around $63, $63, $64. There's some change after that. So if you base it on $63 for 42 pounds of wheat, that means that just the wheat for your 2-pound loaf is going to be $2.25. So then you have these extra ingredients, the honey, the oil, and salt and yeast, which is very hard to figure out how much that actual costs per loaf. So you can see it doesn't add a whole lot more to it. So I just wanted to share that with you so you can kind of get an idea of how far that bucket of wheat's going to go. A 2-pound loaf is enough usually for us for the week for toast and occasional sandwiches. We do more hamburger buns and stuff like that. So, but I wanted to share with you too that, you know, I'll wait and I'll share that in a minute. There's so much in here. If I don't have these notes, I get all out of whack.
For the horse.
Which one of the wheat did you use? I see you got several there, but you got
Yes.
several listed. Which one did you use in that?
For my bread, I prefer a mixture of hard red and hard white. I like the flavor. The white, if you're just starting with the whole wheat flour and you want to get your family switched over, I would make my bread with all white wheat, hard white wheat, because it's a mild flavor. This, if you made your bread with this would be like real wheaty, like the whole wheat, the true 100% whole wheat bread that you can buy in the store, how it has that stronger wheat flavor. But to me, when I put them together, that makes just enough of the wheatiness and not so bland of the whiteness. So that's what I used. In a little while, we're going to do muffins, and we're going to use soft wheat. So we're at that point anyway, the types of wheat. So the hard wheat it has a rich nutty flavor. And like I said, this is the hard white is milder. You have to use hard wheat to make yeast bread. Soft wheat will not make yeast bread. It's too soft and it would just collapse. It doesn't have the protein structure, the gluten, if you will, to make it rise. So these are low moisture, high gluten, and they're necessary for making yeast spreads. This would be like pastry flour. You've seen pastry flour before. So you would use it to make quick breads, muffins, pie crust, cookies, pastries, cakes, things like that. A lot of times it'll be referred to as whole wheat pastry flour, but it's made from the soft. It's not suitable again for yeast spreads.
How
So-
long does that keep before you use it? Like you get it?
Oh, that question, let me check our muffins. I mean our cinnamon rolls. Y'all smell those cooking?
Yes.
It smells good. It was Easter that you had those rolls down here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, real good.
You can make any kind of glaze or icing to go on, we're just gonna have them plain today. But we'll get those, let's get on rest just a minute while we finish talking about the grains. I'm gonna turn this back on for a couple minutes because it's not quite smooth enough. But anytime y'all wanna look, you're welcome to come up and look. So some other grains that you can make bread with: kamut, spelt, buckwheat. Well, not just bread, there's just different grains that you can eat. Buckwheat's not really a grain, but you can make pancakes from it. Brown rice, corn, millet, oats, pumpernickel, rye, and more. And I have some samples back there on the table. If you'll look and you can see the different grains. There's one, when I make muffins at home, I make muffins for my boys and for myself now because everybody needs a little bit more protein in their life. Well, if you take beans, you think about the southern meal of beans and cornbread. When you add a whole grain and beans, that makes a complete protein. So it's a complete meal when you have beans and cornbread. So when I make muffins for my boys, I use what's called Ezekiel flour. And somebody actually went into the Bible, and in Ezekiel 4:19, it lists all the different grains that were in the bread that God told Ezekiel to make that he survived on for over a year. So there's a sample of it in the jar back there. It has beans, it has millet, all different kinds of grains in it. I grind it in this mill, and just whatever meal you get, let me say this in case I forget, be sure to read the instructions because you have to work them differently and you can do grind different things in them. But I grind that in here and I use the flour to make the muffins, and their chocolate chip muffins that they think are a treat is actually a protein food, a complete protein for them. So that's an option there. Still needs a little bit more. You can see how it's getting smoother looking than it was before. Oh, a couple more minutes maybe on that. All right, so other ingredients that you can use. The yeast we talked about before. You can use active, dry, or instant yeast. I usually use instant. I keep it in the refrigerator or the freezer. If you get a big block, I would put it in like a mason jar and put it in the freezer, and I take out a portion of it that I just keep in the refrigerator that's easy to grab. But I try to freeze the bulk of it just so it stays active. Well, let me say that. That's how I started, but now I just keep it in the refrigerator just to go through it so fast.
Sour.
The yeast. The yeast, yeah. Keep the yeast in the refrigerator. Don't use old yeast. I helped this lady, I helped Miss Sheila make bread So your yeast will go bad, that's why you keep it in the fridge. The lecithin is an emulsifier. It gives your bread a soft, smooth texture, and it's easier to handle. And like I said before, you can get sunflower soy. Some of it says store it in the refrigerator, and some of it doesn't. It's up to you. If you use it slowly, I would probably keep it in the refrigerator, just to be on the safe side. So for liquids, we use filtered water in this bread. If you were going to make something savory, like say you wanted to do a cinnamon roll type thing, I roll the dough out, I put pizza sauce on it, I put pepperonis on it, and a little bit of cheese, and then I roll it up and make pizza rolls. If I was going to do that, I might not put the honey in there, or I might put less honey, but I might use a broth, either like a chicken broth or a vegetable broth instead of the water, and then I up the nutrition of those rolls that I'm feeding my boys. You could also, if you were making apple bread, you could use apple juice instead of water to give it more of an apple flavor. You can use milk. Oh, that's the machine over there. I'm like, what are you doing? I thought it was this thing. And you can use milk, and they say milk makes a really soft bread. I've never made bread with milk before, but for sweeteners, you can use honey, sugar, molasses, maple syrup, or sorghum. The honey will actually help preserve your loaf and help it to last longer. This bread will last on the counter, depending on the weather. You know, in the winter it might last longer, but in the summer it might spoil faster. But I can keep it almost a week, and it stays pretty fresh. By the end of the week, it's the best for toast, but it's still not moldy. You can put your bread in the freezer, and when you take it out, have you done that? So what's it like when you took it out?
It's just as good.
Yeah. I've done rolls that way and took them out, just set them on the counter and let them thaw out, and you eat it, and it's just like you freshly baked it. So one young girl I talked to that makes bread, she makes all the bread for her family for the week and puts all but one loaf in the freezer, and then during the week she'll go and take out what they need. So that's an option for you too. And some breads don't call for any sweetener. French bread wouldn't have any sweetener. Now if you were using honey and you take it out and you decide you don't want it to be sweet, like maybe for the pizza rolls you wouldn't want them to be sweet, you're going to have to adjust the amount of flour. You wouldn't use as much. So you're just going to have to watch, and when it starts to turn from the side of the bowl, quit adding flour. The salt we already talked about, and the salt will control the yeast and it enhances the flavor of the bread. If you don't put salt in it, your bread is so bland that nobody would want to eat it. Ask me how I know. My chickens liked it. But other ingredients, your oil, it helps preserve the loaf. Olive oil is obviously the best oil to use because it is so nutritious for our bodies. I particularly don't care for the taste of olive oil. I can do it in bread sometimes, but you have to be so careful with olive oil because it has been altered, illegally altered and sold as olive oil, but it actually has other non-nutritive oils in it. And you can look that up on the internet and read about it, but I think it goes back to the mafia wanting to make money off of the olive oil. So they were cutting it and selling it as 100% pure. So you have to be careful. Olive oil is going to be expensive. It's good for you, very good for you. I prefer avocado oil, which is a very mild flavor, so when I use it in my bread, I don't taste the oil. The flavor profile of your bread would be just a little bit different with the olive oil, and it's not bad. I just don't prefer the olive oil taste.
What are you using this?
The avocado oil.
Do you have like, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have like a brand of olive oil that you would use? Like that's not you? Okay.
No.
I don't know like a pure one. I don't know if you have a picture of it.
I've done a little research on olive oil, and you got to try to find one that's a single source, and it says it on the bottle.
Right.
Okay.
Single
Doesn't come-
source.
Yeah, if it's not single source, it'll say like Spain and all
Or
that.
it don't say nothing, it just says olive oil. But
Right.
it's gonna advertise it's single source from like Brazil or
Okay.
Italy or Spain or,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, single source.
And they're gonna be a lot more
And
expensive.
there's a date on it. You want to make sure that it's not really old.
Yes.
Okay.
And you want to make sure it has a lid on it. I don't have a bottle, but they're inside the lid. It's round, but it's got like a hole in it that's shaped like this. It's not full. It's not letting a lot of air back into your olive oil, because air can mess with your olive oil. So if you're seeing those things, then you know your quality's getting up there.
And they're gonna be in glass bottles too. not plastic.
Dark glass bottles.
Glass.
Okay.
But I use avocado oil. This one comes from Costco. Yeah, from Costco. And I haven't heard about avocado oil necessarily being messed with like that, but some of it is better than others. But you have that across the board with anything you buy, right? So the oil helps preserve the loaf. The French bread or sourdough don't use oil at all. Olive oil, avocado oil, or even butter. And no margarine, never margarine, never. Don't use margarine. Always butter, because your body knows what butter is. Your body doesn't know what margarine is. And when I was a kid, I used to hear it was one molecule away from plastic. Did you hear that before?
And they actually made margarine to fatten chickens when it was originally made.
Yeah, what made for humans. So canola oil is another one that I don't like, because when it first became popular, I researched it, and it comes from a seed called rapeseed, and rapeseed is not for humans. It's actually poison. So they altered it somehow to make it where humans could have it. I'm sorry. I don't like that.
Is there anything on the shelf that's not harmful?
Well, in the Bible study, we teach eat food the way God provided it. So
Stay on the outside of the grocery store, don't go into the aisles.
this is true. So the flaxseed, I've already told y'all about the flaxseed, so that's pretty much already explained. The eggs add flavor, color, strength, and nutrients to your bread. They're high in fat, and they contain some of the lecithin, some of this. So if you don't have this, you could put an extra egg in there to get a little bit more lecithin to help your bread be a little softer. And baking powder. We're going to use baking powder in the muffins in a little bit. Always look for aluminum-free baking powder. It usually says it on the can. If it doesn't say aluminum-free, flip it to the back and read the ingredients. And one of the ingredients is aluminum something or other. So you don't want that. You want to get the one without that aluminum in it, because our bodies don't need aluminum. They don't need heavy metals. We don't need to be storing those inside of our body, because our body doesn't use it. All right? So I'm going to get some plates, and I'm going to let y'all have a little treat while we continue talking.
When you say butter, they go in the like salt and unsalt. Will you get the unsalt?
The butter.
When they like,
When you're baking something, they usually say use unsalted, but then if you look, your recipe usually calls for a little bit of salt. So
Yeah.
if I just use salted all the time, and I just don't add that little pinch of salt if I'm using
Okay.
salted butter.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna let y'all serve yourself. You would like to try a muffin?
we want cinnamon roll.
I mean cinnamon roll. I'm gonna let y'all just come up and help yourself for cinnamon roll. Just loosen them from the sides a little bit. And like I said, these are a treat. I would not serve these all the time, because sugar is not good for us. It is not. We don't need to have it every day. but occasionally,
That's just got brown sugar, right?
this has organic brown sugar. And a little bit of sucanat because I didn't quite have enough brown sugar.
You said that dough is exactly the same as you're making in this.
Well, there's the first one, so.
Now, these other things that you say you make, like the hamburger buns or the pizza dough, does this recipe change to do any of that?
I don't make my pizza dough with it. You can make a pizza dough with it, but I like my recipe for pizza dough better, and I'll share that with you at the end. But if you want to write down if you're going to make hamburger buns with this, I use a scale, like a food scale.
Thank you, John.
She makes
For hamburger buns, I make them 3 ounces. For slider buns, I do about 2.5 ounces. And for a dinner roll, I do 1.5 or 2, depending on the size of the rolls that I'm making. And those are ounces. I just take the dough, measure it out, and to form a dinner roll, I'll show you when we get the dough. Y'all remind me and I'll show you how to make a dinner roll.
How do you still cook it at 350?
You cook it at 350, it won't be as long. You'll have to watch it start at 20 minutes.
20 minutes, 20 to 30, 20 to 25, 20.
I would start with 20 and check them. I use a food thermometer, meat thermometer, and you want your bread to be at least 190. For a loaf of bread, I try to go almost to 200, but for the rolls, at least 190.
Yeah, that's my daughter.
And that's your
All right,
brother?
while y'all are eating that, I'm gonna go ahead and mix up our muffins, and I'm gonna show you how the meal works. So this particular meal has 2 stones inside of it. Think about Bible times. They had those 2 stones and they put the grain in there to grind it. They also make metal bird grinders of meals. When I researched it, I could not find anything that made one better than the other or worse than the other. I chose this one because it has 2 stones inside of it, and it was like Bible time, and I just thought that was cool. But this one is called a mock meal. That's the brand name. And for this particular meal, you turn the meal on before you add the grain into the hopper. And it comes out here as your flour. For the metal ones, you have to put your grain in first and then turn your meal on. That's what I was telling you. Make sure you read directions. One's not better than the other, but just make sure you read the directions. I need to finish the bread first. I'm getting ahead of myself. But what I wanted to tell you that I left out before is there's a Bible verse in the Bible about a meal. And it says, it comes from Deuteronomy. It says, "No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge." We talk about the importance of bread in the Bible. And that right there tells you how important it was, because those 2 stones are called millstones. And in Bible times, I guess you had to make, you keep this until I pay you back that or whatever. You take it as a pledge. They were not allowed to take a person's millstone because they would be taking the person's life as a pledge. That's how important bread was in Scripture. So let me go back. Get ahead of myself and forget what I'm doing. That's why I have notes.
This recipe, it says you can either use the egg or just not do it.
Yeah, it's optional. Eggs are optional.
Well, I just wondered if using 2 eggs would help it.
If you don't use the lecithin in your bread, I would use an extra egg.
Because when I go and make pound cakes, I usually eat more cake than what it costs for. You do more eggs.
Yeah, because it makes it emulsifies your stuff better.
And she laid them out the night before, and butter and everything.
Every mixer that I used has a spot in it that might like rub the side of the bowl and cause friction. And if you see that right there, that little bit of black, I don't use that part of the dough, but the only thing it is where that friction is built up on the edge.
Yeah.
So I just don't use that part. I just
Yeah.
leave it off.
This is delicious.
So what you do after it's mixed, after it's ready, you can see the texture of it has changed a good
Look
bit.
better now.
You would let this rise and then push it down and shape it. So we're going to let this rise. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use this same bowl to let it rise in. That scraper that I got all yucky at the beginning is what I would use to scrape this bowl.
Okay.
But what I do is I just move it to the side. This is the avocado spray that I use. I just spray the bowl so that the dough will not stick to it. So that's all I'm doing here is just scraping it off the sides the best I can with this. You can get a separate bowl. If I'm doing a triple recipe, I have to get a separate bowl because it'll rise. It needs to rise more than it has room for. So all I've done is just spray the bowl to keep the dough from sticking. I just put a little bit on top of there. So you would put it in a bowl and cover it. And I'm going to use this cover that comes with it. And we're going to let that rise while we make some muffins. So back to the mill. I'm going to mill the flour for the muffins. First I'm going to put this in something else. I had a little bit of flour left over. Normally what I would do, I would take my grain and I would measure it. I would weigh it before I mill it. And I have a little chart that I can give y'all also that comes from Bread Bakers. But I would put a bowl on my scale and you hit the tare button and then it goes back to 0. So it's not weighing my bowl anymore. And then I would pour my grain into the bowl and then I know about how much I need to get so many cups of flour for a recipe. So I weigh this before I put it in this bag. So this is just a little bit of flour left from the bread. I hate to waste, but I don't really have anything to put it in. I don't want it to mess up my measurement. So,
How long would that last if we were going to save it to use in something else? How long would that last once it's...
When I have little bits of flour like that left, I get a Ziploc bag and I keep it in the freezer.
Yeah.
And if I need a little bit of flour to make gravy, I'll use it for that. Or if I have a recipe and maybe it looks like it's a little wet and I think I just need maybe a tablespoon more of flour, I'll just use some of that. I don't actually use it to bake my bread from scratch, but I do use it. I don't throw it away. But in the freezer, it stops the oxidation a little bit. So this is noisy. That's why I ground all that before y'all got here. So this is going to be loud, and at home I use earplugs because my husband says I'm going to go deaf. So this is soft wheat. see if there's any in there, but I'm assuming it all fell out. So this is one of the cookbooks that I recommend. It's called the Essential Homegrown Flour Book by Sue Becker. She is the owner of Bread Becker's, and it's a store that sells a lot of wheat and grain, and she teaches bread classes. So we're going to make muffins today. We're going to make blueberry muffins, and I've altered it a little bit, and we're going to have some lemon, which really gives it a nice flavor with the blueberries. So if I could get a volunteer to zest my lemon into this bowl, and then we'll get some lemon juice for our muffins. Don't everybody jump at once.
I don't know how to do that. Y'all don't want me to. I've never zested a lemon.
I do, it's what I
The
do.
way you zest a lemon is you lightly rub it across here. This is like a little grater.
Will you just show me? Will you teach me? Can I do it? Okay.
So you want to do it, but
That's the orange or
No,
something.
I haven't.
That's the
No.
filling, dear.
you
just like
want to get the yellow part.
all that.
You don't want to go too far into the white because then you start getting bitter.
Mhm.
So I want all the peeling in there, and that's going to give us a nice.
Okay,
Do
wait.
you trust me to do this? I've never done it. Okay.
Yeah. Just don't. You don't have to do it really hard.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Denise, I might not be able to do this like fast enough.
That's okay.
How's this?
Everybody has to learn.
Orange ones. Orange ones.
Okay. Okay, so it's just the top that you want.
Yeah, don't go too far into the.
And you use that to like, you eat that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do. Smell how good it smells.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I've measured everything out. This is the baking powder, baking soda, and I'm gonna let y'all make a picture of this recipe. And my little notes down here, you'll understand those after you hear after today. But I scribble on my recipes if I want to make changes. I make notes in my books. So if you ever borrow a book from me, you're gonna have some notes. So this is 1 teaspoon each: baking soda, salt, and baking powder, and aluminum-free baking powder, remember. So she's in my mixing bowl, so I'm just pouring that in there.
Am I pouring this?
Yeah, it's fine. You can rub that on, or you can rub the lemon on the.
Without it. Can you believe it?
I'm gonna do that.
That's a little bit easier.
That's scary.
So we have the flour here, and this should be about 2 1/4 cups of flour. But like I said, I weighed that out before. But we will. This is about 1/2 cup here, so you can see how well I did. So that's 1 cup.
I can't believe Sarah has never zested nothing.
Listen, let me tell you right now, I grew up in the, you get it off the shelf kind of days. I was a 90s baby.
A 90s baby.
And now we're learning that that wasn't the best thing to do. So, I'm trying to relearn my ways. It's alright.
So because I weighed it, I have a little bit of flour left. When we mix it up, if it's too wet, I have this flour to add to it. I didn't put cinnamon. I'm not going to put cinnamon in these because I'm using the lemon instead. So a recipe will usually tell you to mix your dry ingredients in one bowl and your wet ingredients in the other bowl, and then combine them. I mix my dry ingredients, I make a hole, and I put my wet ingredients in. So when she's finished, we'll add our wet ingredients.
So is that the same flour that you
She's
use
a
for
little
the
patchy.
rolls?
Let me get a knife.
Is that the same flour that you use for the rolls?
This is the soft wheat.
The
Now
soft
we're gonna
wheat?
let you juice the lemon.
Never ready.
Just do it on that little green thing right there.
No shame.
You learn it, Sarah Ann.
You just squeeze it, and I need about 1/4 cup of juice, so you can stop when we get to 1/4 cup. There's measurements on the side. So I like to make sure that all my dry ingredients are mixed together well. So I stir it a good bit. If I had a whisk, I would whisk it really good, because you don't want anybody to get like a bite of baking soda or a bite of baking powder or even the salt. You want to make sure it's all incorporated really well.
you gonna do honey and oil and that?
So the recipe calls for half a cup of oil and half a cup of honey, which I measured here.
Took you half the night to measure up all this stuff.
This is ready. No, it's not ready. Is it? Yep, it needs a little bit more time. It should be ready at 11:11.
I'm really good about that.
Okay.
Do we need this for anything else?
No.
Just in case, yeah.
There it is. Easter and everything else.
Is that you got the only?
So
These boys at his parents'
this is
house,
my
so don't have-
oil and honey, and I just made a well, just made a little hole in the center of my dry ingredients. I'm adding this. It's half a cup of oil, half a cup of honey. I'm gonna add this juice, and this is gonna make us need a little bit more of that flour. And the other thing, a teaspoon of real vanilla. Don't use imitation vanilla.
Don't use the extract.
This is pure vanilla extract, but it's
Pure.
not imitation.
Yeah.
Don't ever buy it when it says imitation.
Gosh.
I use that in cakes.
Real,
Oh,
yeah. That's what you need to use, the real stuff. So that was a teaspoon, and then another egg.
Susie had learned to break an egg without losing pieces of shell.
What's that?
It was burn it like that. She gets one of that.
Yeah.
So we're going to make mini muffins today. Oh, this smells good.
Mm-hmm.
And these are going to be blueberry. I have blueberries. Oh, and another thing you need is what I have in the refrigerator.
Milk.
This is buttermilk. This is cultured buttermilk. The buttermilk you buy in the store, you can buy two kinds. One that just says buttermilk and one that's cultured. If you get cultured buttermilk, it will last way past the date on the carton because it's cultured. Think about making yogurt. Culturing was a preservation method back a long time ago that helps things last longer. So this is buttermilk.
We love our buttermilk, don't we, Jane?
This is
I
really
get
good.
my cultured buttermilk.
Really good cultured buttermilk.
I don't like that thing.
And a lot of times in the grocery store, it won't say cultured. You can get cultured, but you want to try to do good milk. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to just spill out everything I have.
Real good has culture now.
So these have started to fall a little bit, so it's going to make our batter a little purple, but y'all don't care, do you?
I love that color.
So this is mixed, and you can see, because I added the lemon juice, it's still a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add probably the rest of this flour, which I knew I would need anyway, but. And that buttermilk will activate the baking powder and the baking soda, and that's what gives it a rise without yeast.
Do you have your cards with you today?
What color?
The cards that you gave us last year? Deniece Allen.
Oh, the business cards?
Yeah.
I do have some. You can't read my phone number on them very well, but I'll give you some. I gotta have them reprinted. So that's a much better consistency. I'm gonna add these blueberries, and then if I could get some volunteers to,
Drop them in the thing.
I can find one I did have my.
I get that one there.
I have some liners somewhere. Oh well, we'll just put them in the pan this time. Oh, here they are. I already got them out. These pans have a non-stick coating on it. I don't like a non-stick coating at all, but I use these, so I don't worry about it. For the bread pans that I use, the brand is called USA pans. And they have a silicone coating on them. They're aluminum, which we don't want aluminum, but they're coated with silicone and they are non-stick. And silicone, so far, I have not read anything about silicone being bad for us. So those are coated. You'll see when we make our loaves of bread that they just dump out, and I wipe them out, but that's all I have to do. So those are USA pans. If you have to have pans, if you're buying pans, I go on Amazon and I put all these pans on my wish list. And when you have stuff on your wish list, if it goes on sale, they send you a message and say something in your wish list is on sale. And that's when I buy my USA pans. So as I replace pans, I replace them with USA as much as possible. But like I said, I don't worry so much about this because I am going to use these paper liners. My food's not going to be in contact with the non-stick. This recipe is going to it'll fill these 2 pans with mini muffins. And I like the mini muffins because, number one, they're bite size. If I want just a little snack, I can just pop a muffin. And if I'm doing the Ezekiel flour, this was soft flour, but if I'm doing the Ezekiel flour, it's a good snack, little grab and go protein bite. So these were frozen blueberries. These are not organic, but Costco has blueberries that have been tested for pesticide. So it's cheaper than buying organic. These are wild blueberries tested for pesticide. So you get a nice blueberry flavor, and the price is not too bad. And blueberries are very good for you. They help fight cancer. They cut off the oxygen to cancer cells. So everybody should eat blueberries every day.
Good to know.
Yeah, if you want to fight cancer or prevent cancer, eat blueberries every day and cruciferous vegetables every day.
Cruciferous?
Cruciferous. Those are like broccoli, cauliflower, kale,
Okay.
preferably raw. So would somebody like to help with this? One person can put these in, and one person can use, for these mini muffins, I use the smallest scoop. I don't know. The measurement's not on here. I think it's like a tablespoon.
Well, Miss Jane did it. She didn't get to do it last year.
Yeah.
If it has the pesticides in the blueberry, like let's say like you don't get the ripe blueberries, will that still have the effects to fight off the cancer cells, or does it have to be like?
Yeah, if you get fresh blueberries and they're not organic, make sure that you wash them good. To wash the pesticides off of them.
Gotcha.
You can't get rid of all of it, because if they're spraying the blueberries, it
It's
goes into
growing
the
into
ground and
the-
it comes up into
Yeah.
it. But
Make sure you're washing.
yeah, try to use organic as much as possible, and don't think, oh no, I can't afford organic. Organic's too expensive. Here's the thing: when you're eating whole foods, you're not going to eat as much, so it's not really going to change your grocery bill that much. You do have to use discernment. When I go into the grocery store, I'll just pray and say, God, help me do the best I can to feed my family the best food that I can. You can't always find organic and everything first, but if sometimes it's way high, then I kind of have to weigh, do I want to go way high in this area? But usually it works. And if you pray about it, God will show you how to do it.
Does Costco have a big bag of like frozen organic blueberries?
Yeah, that's where I get
That's what
these
you get.
pesticide free.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So, anybody want to scoop?
You wash all your fruits and vegetables in water with some baking soda
Oh yeah.
and vinegar in it. Let it sit 10 or 15 minutes and then rinse. And it
All
helps
fruits.
all fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
It gets all the
Good.
She did
pesticides.
some. Anybody else want
Corn, she
to?
said you're not gonna get it all on, but it'll remove most of the pesticides, and plus it helps preserve it because the vinegar helps kill bacteria. I wash all my fruits in it, and then I'll let them dry, and then I put them in, mason jars, I sit in the refrigerator, and
That's
then
your way.
weeks.
Really, like your fruit?
All my fruit. All my berries.
Can you taste the vinegar?
No.
How much do you just do like
I
a?
made this.
They're not how much I
They're
got,
out
whether
of
I
town
just got a little bit, then I'll do a bowl, but usually
They're out of town?
everything I buy,
They went to their
I
other
put it in the
grandmother's
chicken sink. Fill the sink
One of
about
them.
half full,
Did you
just
get
make
to
sure
go
it
see
covers it. And then I
Yes,
put
we
like
did.
a
Is
did.
she
fourth of a
okay?
cup of baking soda and like
She
a
just
cup of
really
vinegar.
didn't pay much
And you
attention. The
don't
only one
measure it.
she even noticed was
Yeah.
Lauren, and when
Then
Lauren
I
would get close to her, she'd
Gently
say,
stir it, and then I let it sit 10 to 15
Lauren,
minutes.
come running to
And
me,
then I
please.
get that colander and I rinse it, and then I lay it all out on the side and let it
I'm
dry.
about, y'all about to die. I don't even wash
You
them.
have them a little
But,
spoiled.
I mean, I don't even wash them. I don't
You
even
should see what comes off of the strawberries.
I was gonna say.
I've seen videos and I'm just like,
There's all kinds
think
of
it's
little
a
bugs and
tablespoon.
stuff you can see in
It's a
that water
cooker
when you
scoop,
wash
what it
the
is.
strawberries.
I did wash my strawberries.
It may not say
Last
an amount, but if it says cookie scoop.
I hope you
That's a
did.
start.
That's a
I'm
start.
telling you, I don't. I just eat them. I'm like, wait.
They really wash them in the stove.
I just ate from my muffin.
Huh?
I just ate from my muffin. Yeah.
Anybody want to turn scooping?
Here.
John, you do it. I did it one year.
These papers are non-stick. They have a coating on them, which is really great when you want to get your muffin out of it. I don't know what it's made out of. It might be just like wax. That's what it feels like is wax. But if you're taking your muffins somewhere, when you get them there, all the papers are already peeling off. They don't look as pretty.
Where do you find those, Denise?
Those muffins, I got them on Amazon, but I don't order them anymore because they won't stay on it. And sometimes I do festivals where I set up a booth to tell people about fresh mill bread classes and stuff. And all the papers are just falling off and it just doesn't look as pretty.
How can we book you for a class?
You can.
Come somewhere else.
I do that.
She does, she's got cards.
I've been to several different churches doing
Hi,
it, so
Samantha.
if you have a group that you think would be interested, you just let me know, we'll schedule it. So here's the recipe for the blueberry muffins. Down here, I put the zest of 1 lemon and a 1/4 cup of juice. Or if you have organic lemon oil, essential oil, you can do like 6 or 8 drops of that instead of the lemon.
Can I take a picture of it?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was just trying to tell y'all what it said down here, and I put a little note that I didn't put cinnamon in it, because I didn't think the cinnamon went with the, but there's that if y'all want to take a picture of it.
And I love you.
Thank you for every week from here.
Yeah.
Oh, you done got it.
And I read that book you usually first before.
Yeah. I wish I had more of those scoops, so we can scoop faster. So you're not slow.
Is that right? Can we
No, there'll probably still be some left.
I'm talking about rising, you know, how they
No.
cupcakes are. I was too much in the cupcake thing.
Okay. Oh, everybody's making a picture. When y'all finish, we'll go on with our little handout and tell y'all some more info.
Well,
Here. Give it this one.
yeah,
Wash it off.
just trying.
Miss,
I'm
I
trying to
love
make
it.
Yeah.
Let it go for now. I'm doing good. I just made a mess.
And like I said, that's just the brands I use. You don't have to use those brands. Yeah. Just so you know what you're looking for.
Pink salt and gray salt.
And it comes in a shaker bottle too, so, but the label always looks like this on the salt. So while she's finishing that up, I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more, and then we'll get those in the oven and we'll start shaping our loaves. So the helpful tools that you need, this is great, any kind of kitchen scale. I use a meat thermometer. I try to get an instant read, and when you first stick it in, the numbers are going by really fast, and when they slow down, that's the temperature, when the numbers slow down. So a good meat thermometer. This is a bread slicer, and you put the loaf of bread in here, and you'll use a knife. You need a good serrated edge knife. It's got like you can see it's serrated. You don't want like a smooth knife, you want it to be serrated. And this is long enough that it goes from one side to the other. So,
That's all I got. That's all I got.
okay. No, that's fine. Yeah. So I'm going to pop these in the oven, and they go in the oven let me see, I think she does hers at 400, so I'm going to bump that up a little bit. That oven said 373. It was only supposed to be 350. Everybody's oven's different. So helpful tools. The slicer's helpful. You don't have to have it, but it just gives you even slices, especially if you're making a sandwich. This, when you're making the cinnamon rolls and you have your dough spread out in front of you, this will shape your dough when you make pizza or your cinnamon rolls. You have a little bit more control, and you could get it more the shape you want it. If you're using the big rolling pin, it's hard to get a pizza round. It wants to be odd shaped, and this will just help you get your rectangle for your cinnamon rolls. So these are really nice. These are not very expensive, $6 or $7 on Amazon. These are nice. This is a dough cutter or dough scraper. When you're have your dough on the counter, you can scrape it up. I use this to cut my cinnamon rolls. Some of them have a measurement on there, which is good if you're making cinnamon rolls. If it has some inch marks on it, you can kind of see where to cut so you get more even sizes. You can get these for $6 and up on Amazon, or you can go to the Dollar Tree and get it for $1.25.
Yeah.
I think the Dollar Tree is the one that has the measurements on it, which I like better. So that's good. Towels, everybody needs towels, the thermometer, bread knives, a variety of pans. We talked about the USA pans already. You can use glass pans. Avoid non-stick and aluminum. If that's all you have, get some parchment paper and line the inside so that your food's not in contact with the non-stick or the aluminum. So for the oven. The other thing I don't have a sample of, it's called a gamma lid. If you are buying grain in bulk, you need a way to store it to where it doesn't have to be completely airtight. You can buy Mylar bags and seal it in it, and they're airtight. It doesn't have to be completely airtight. A gamma lid is going to seal it basically airtight. And what they are, the big plastic buckets you get at Lowe's, Home Depot, it usually has their logo on it. Those are the kind of buckets that you'll need. And what you want to do is look on the bottom of the bucket, and there's a triangle. And inside the triangle is a number. You want it to have a number 2, and that means it's food grade. So those Lowe's buckets, Home Depot buckets, Tractor Supply, all of those have that number 2 in the triangle on the bottom. I don't have anything plastic to show you, but you want to look for that and make sure it's food grade. Well, the gamma lid, it fits on the top of that bucket. There's a ring that fits on the top of the bucket. And in the center of the ring is a lid you can unscrew. So you're not having to do this to those lids to pull them up off the bucket. So those are really handy to have. Sorry, I just put my something. Those are really handy to have, the gamma lids, that keeps your grain. So you'll need a big bucket, you'll need a gamma lid to store it, because you don't want bugs to get in it. That's, no bugs. And you want to store it in a place that's dry. You don't want to put it in a real humid environment. However, one lady that I watch, her blog, she's from Florida, and she stores all of her grains in her storage building. She said she's never had a problem. So it's hot and humid there, so she puts them in the bucket with the gamma lid, and she says they're good. Grains will last indefinitely. I've heard testimony of grains being found in the tombs of the pharaohs, and they got it to sprout. God is good. He not only gave us nutritious grain, but he made it to where we can store it to have. And if you think of the story of Joseph in the Bible, they stored up grain for the famine, and they had it to share with others. So you just want to make sure you're storing it well so that it's not exposed. Now, I put mine in the bucket, but I have a glass jar that I keep, like where I make my bread, so I'm not constantly running and getting my big buckets. So that'll hold maybe for me to bake 3 or 4 times in that glass container. So you can use, I get the big mason jars with the lids, that's what I keep my sugar in, so you're keeping the moisture out. Those are good, the big glass jars and the plastic food grade buckets. A lot of my ingredients, my beans and stuff, come in buckets that are like 2-gallon buckets, I think, or maybe a gallon. I don't put gamma lids on them because I don't open them as much, but they do have a tight fitting lid, so those are good. Suggested reading, God's Word's number 1. God's Word has a lot about health and being healthy, and talks about the foods that God provided. The first book that I read when I was learning more about Bible foods was called What the Bible Says About Healthy Living by Rex Russell. And a lot of people that you hear talk today about biblical health refer back to his book. So he like predated everybody. Another one is called Unleash Your God-Given Healing by Jenny Dent Bryant. She is a cancer survivor, and her book is loaded with ways to avoid cancer. She tells you a lot about what caused her personal cancer and tells you how to eat and how to live. Some of the things she has in there are expensive. Everybody can't do all the things that she did, but she starts with your food and your cleaning products in your house and different things that you're exposed to that cause it, but she can tell you how to avoid cancer. She has a great testimony too. She shouldn't be alive.
Really?
She had a type of aggressive breast cancer. Joan, you correct me if I'm wrong, because Joan's read the book. It was an aggressive breast cancer that was not hereditary. She didn't know why she got it, and she started searching, and she traced it back to plastic bottles. And she had a cap, had a root canal and a cap, and there was infection in there. And when they x-rayed it, that infection went right to the spot in her breast where she had cancer.
Oh my goodness.
So she's done a lot of research. She's a very good source. The Creation Diet, I read you a little thing from that earlier by Joy Clary Brown. Her husband is a retired pastor in the Myrtle Beach area. She's just a sweet, sweet person, but she wrote a book, and her book goes into more detail about the seasons and the moon and the stars and all the stuff that God created and how it relates to our health and our body. Annette Reeder, the Bible study books that I have back there are written by Annette Reeder, so any of her books are good. So real quick, I'm going to finish this so we can do our loaves. The Bread Becker's recipe book, which is the one that I showed you earlier, is a good cookbook, and she has a little red book it's like self-published, that's good also, that has a lot of information about the white flour in it. It's good. The Healthy Treasures cookbook, which is back there on the table, you're welcome to look at that. And then Annette Reeder has another one called Satisfied, Baking with Whole Grain Flour. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to come back to that because I want us to get shaping on this bread. So if y'all want to wash your hands, See, look how much more I have in here now.
Wow.
It has to double in size the first rise, so it's ready for us to shake. If y'all want, there's some soap in the bathroom that's back there to the right. If you want to wash your hands here, there's dish soap you can use.
No, this is a dumb question. Do you have to cover, like, why do you cover it with a towel? Does that help it rise, or is that just to protect it?
Keep it from drying out.
Is it a damp towel?
It can be a damp towel. I didn't use a damp towel this time, because you're only leaving it just 20 to 30 minutes, so.
I was like, I'm paying attention to Denise. I was like, okay, either she's doing that to cover for flies, or there's a reason why she's doing it.
Well, flies is a good reason too. We don't want flies in there, for sure. So, get some of this stuff out of our way. Did she?
So I'm gonna do it.
Oh, good.
You got me back, Denise.
I'm glad, Janice.
I am too.
So glad.
I am too. How many years? 3.5. Long as that.
Yep, I'm gonna wipe these off
Okay.
before we use them, so.
Okay. I'm gonna get none of the Skittles out of this thing.
It took me forever to find out how to put it down. They don't turn like mine does.
This is some good stuff, right? She's on there.
At home,
Do you want to have the Skittles?
At home, I would just use my counter to roll the bread out on. I have granite countertops, and they're easy to clean up. But these are not my counters, so we're gonna use these silicone things. You don't have to have these. I don't want anybody to think you have to run out and buy these, because you don't. They're nice. If you want to use them, that's fine. But I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on them, because the dough is sticky.
What's happened to it? Or Angie did it, well, let's put it that way.
People say you ain't never thrown nothing away.
I never thrown it away. But Angie did.
You got to market the Dollar Tree up to
I didn't know that. I bought Bill some stuff, because he didn't have much money. Mary says, who you buy that for? I said, well, do you? I said, it's not all mine. I bought some stuff. I bought her some. Mexican and bread and
Bars first.
say they have, unless they have a DBT card, you can never exactly what to do.
All right.
I just feel sorry for them.
So, for anybody that missed, I think y'all were in the bathroom, I do this on my counter at home. These are nice to have, and if you want to use them, if you try, you know your counter's clean. This is not my counter, so I'm not saying it's nasty, but I don't know. I just don't know, so we're going to use these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out, for these little pans, about 6 ounces of dough. And I'm going to show you how to shape a loaf of bread. The method that we use for these little loaves is the same that you would use for a big loaf. So I'm going to, everybody get to see?
Huh? That looks fun.
It's like yeast.
It's kind of like mullet.
But it all
It's
comes
quite
out
stretchy.
real clean. See
John
that?
David would love to touch that.
I give Lauren a little piece when I'm making bread because she always wants to help, but
Yeah.
I say, here, you make yours.
Yeah.
And she'll stand there with that one piece of dough like it's Play-Doh.
Bless her.
So
She's
what
so
I'm going to do is just measure out. Just to keep it from sticking. So about 6 ounces of dough is what it takes for for one. So just kind of get it all smoothed. Let me just, while I'm doing this, I'm going to show y'all something else. This is 6 ounces. Say if I was making a dinner roll. This is like 2.5 ounces. But I just flatten it out, and then I'll take and pull all the ends in together like that, make a little pouch like, and then I kind of push it up through my fingers and pinch it together in the back. And just round it off. Now for the dinner roll, I would just put them in my dish like that, leave them rounded. If I was making a hamburger bun, I would use more. I would use 3 ounces, but I actually flatten those out and I put them like on a sheet like that. That's not aluminum, but I put them on a sheet like that. And then when I get them all on the sheet, I'll put a piece of parchment paper on top or wax paper, and I'll take another one of those sheets. As long as it's not real heavy. Some people have real heavy stuff. I just take a normal sheet and sit it on top because I don't want these to rise up. I don't want round hamburger buns. I want them to still be this way. So it lets them rise, but they go out instead of up.
That's neat.
So that was just a little trick.
Hamburger buns.
Oh yeah, yeah. So then your hamburger bun would look like a hamburger bun. It wouldn't look like a roll when you finished. It would be round. But that's how you shape them. So just push them up. You want the surface, whether you're doing a loaf or a roll, you want a tight surface. That's why I push it up through my hands so that this part gets tight and then they rise and make nice pretty rolls. So that one's a hamburger bun. This is the 6 ounces. So we're going to flatten it out. Get it nice and smooth. I want to make a rectangle. This is the pan that we're going to use. So I don't want to go any wider than this pan, but I'm just going to make it a rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just kind of spreading it out with your hands. So when you're doing it, I normally roll it to myself. So when you're watching me right now, I'm going to roll it that way so you can see what I'm doing. But you roll towards yourself. So I would pick it up, and I'd stretch it a little bit, and I would roll, and I kind of seal those edges a little bit. Then I would kind of pull on it and roll it again, seal the edges a little bit, because we don't want an air bubble in there. If it starts getting too wide this way, wider than your pan, you can take that end in and seal it, and it gets you back on track. But that one, just seal. And then you just keep rolling. And when you get to the end, you just pinch it to seal it. Put the seam down, and if it's like this on the end, I usually just kind of stretch that around to the bottom. But you want to keep it tight. You can use your hands. If you don't feel like it's tight enough, you can just kind of, like I did, you just kind of squeeze to get it tight. And then it goes into your pan.
How neat. You can tell you've made many of those.
So let me measure y'all some out, and y'all get to make your own.
If you were to just like throw that baby in the pan without rolling it, like, does it affect like how it cooks, or like I'm just thinking, okay, like I'm in a rush, I'm just throwing. I mean, I just want to know.
If you're just throwing it in there like that, it's not going to be tight, and it's going to be all bumpy.
So it'll
like
be
that.
unevenly cooked, basically. That's why you want to make sure it's tight.
It won't be perfect.
It won't look like a loaf, but you can on the internet you can find there's people that do it differently. Some people would just make it into a ball like this, and then they would kind of flatten it and shape it to make a loaf. Either way you want to do it is fine. That video that showed me how to do that's what I've learned to do, so that's what I do. But go on the internet. There's so many people out there that can help you, but you can just roll it like that. And
That looks easier. That's pretty neat like that.
Yeah.
That looks easier.
I just didn't know if you didn't make it tight, if it would like cook uneven. Does that make sense?
yeah, it's going to be prettier if it's tight.
Okay.
So
I just don't want to mess it up. I'm asking all the questions. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do good.
So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 7 of these. Y'all can take turns.
You want us to go ahead and get started?
Oh, you can.
Let's do it. Come on, ladies.
That one, yeah, that's the one I was playing with.
can do it.
You can halfway do mine if you want to.
I forgot. Let's see.
You take that in, twist.
I'm gonna roll towards myself.
Yeah.
Kind of pull it when you roll so it makes it tight.
Excuse me. I'm making it like a little kind of flat. So.
Flatten out, make your little rectangle.
Oh yeah, okay, let's do. Oh look, I'm just kind of like to touch it right now. We're bonding. We're bonding.
Play-Doh.
I bet the dough tastes good. Does the dough taste good?
One lady in my class tasted it. She said, "This is good."
I
I was like,
tasted it.
"Oh, I can't eat wrong."
Me and, oh, it does taste good. Me and John didn't like raw dough.
Oh, you love my
Did you?
Cookie dough.
Oh yeah, you did.
Is that right, Denise? So like that. Can I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
that?
Here's the pans. So Janice, think about this. There you go. And now just seal those little edges.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of stretch it when you roll it to
Mhm.
keep it tight.
Yeah. Like that.
Mhm.
Roll it that in. Keep it tight. You don't have to follow the gloves.
Can we work on it a little bit? Let's see if we can get that top nice and tight. Instead of dumping. There we go. Yeah, so you want to make sure it's just pinched good at the bottom. And put your, now hang on just a minute before you go away. Stay right there. Let me get, we're going to put all these little pans on this big pan.
I see why now it's like a thing, because you don't want it to be uneven. Now I'm like, okay, one side's a little thicker than the other.
Okay.
I'm going to put this penny in this corner.
And a quarter.
And I want you to set your pans on there and in relation to the penny so we know whose is whose when we take them out of the oven.
Is mine look okay?
It's like a puzzle. Sarah's like, what is she talking about?
At first I was like, are they going to move towards the penny? Like, is it live?
Right.
No, I was like, ooh.
Otherwise, we won't know whose loaf is whose,
I
right?
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here we
Okay,
go.
so you go put yours on there and remember where you put it in relation to the penny.
She's a little uneven, but I feel like it's
Come over
probably
here.
improved. My penny, mine is like this.
This one, okay. So Miss Jean, the penny's there, so we'll set yours right there. Yours is right by the penny.
That look okay?
Now, you don't have to flatten it in there. So you did good shaping it, but once you get it in the pan, you don't have to flatten it.
Okay.
So,
Pop it in there.
yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna rise and fill up the pan.
Okay. All right,
So-
that's good.
Oops, I got it a little crooked though.
Good.
So you don't have to
Well,
flatten
mine will be
it.
the one that's crooked.
Okay, so the penny is right here, Janice.
Okay.
So if you want to put yours here,
Yeah, I'll put mine there.
yes, I got my pans.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
That's what we're supposed to do. Oh, maybe it might be too dry.
I went in the bathroom with my I was on food. Yours.
I'm gonna take the whole bag.
And then she went to Jackson.
My dad, I think, went.
I keep her every Sunday. I just didn't like him. He's just Just for some, it's called Australia. You can go visit over there. They have a visitation, and then go to search them in Australia. So you can go. I could, yeah. That's what I'm doing. You want me to sign your name?
Run us a doggy bone. I went with you every guy, her husband.
Yeah. Yeah, she passed away. It was sad to say.
It looks like a doggy bone.
Miss Lucy passed away. She met my nurse. She loved me so, you know, she made me those things, off my nose mask.
Here,
She was very sweet lady.
Wow. Blueberry muffins. I'll just set one at a time so we can do that. So, y'all can just help yourself. You want a plate or just a napkin?
I got my bowl.
That could be okay.
I saved my bowl.
Are the blueberry muffins like not? So like you said, don't do these every day. But let's say for the boys, they love like a little treat. So this is fine for them.
These don't have as much sugar as you're probably used to because over the course of time, you have cut way back on sugar. Any recipe I do, I cut back on the sugar and then I just keep cutting until it gets to a point where you don't really still like it anymore.
Okay.
But I use mostly honey. I use more honey than anything else.
Okay.
So those have honey, the bread has honey.
Do you use Manuka honey? Or you don't use
I
that?
don't use Manuka honey to bake with.
Or you don't?
No, that would be too
Too
expensive.
expensive, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so everybody knows where theirs is on there. They're gonna need to rise for just a few minutes.
No, we used John
So
Park.
I'm gonna move them over here by
I bought some.
Warm.
Oh, that's
the,
good.
oh, all right,
Yeah.
mine's going right here in the middle of whoever's.
Thank you.
Y'all have as many as you want, have an extra cinnamon roll, all that stuff is for y'all.
Okay, hold on.
How does my lemon zest taste?
It's good.
Right, you do. Nice zestiness.
Yeah, y'all tell me how you like the lemon. The last class I did, I forget sometimes that people haven't cut back on sugar as much as I have. And the lady goes, I don't think my kids would eat these. These are just not sweet enough. So then I thought about the lemon, and I'm thinking the lemon gives it a little more sweetness without adding more honey or more sugar or whatever. So y'all tell me if you like them.
And there's a lot of things that's got blueberry and lemon together, I noticed.
Can you taste the lemon? Yeah.
So you could add sugar to it and just over time, like you said. Because I'm just thinking of sweet little John David, he'll be like,
You wean them off.
yeah, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
When you start baking, just start cutting back, and then they won't notice it as much.
Okay.
And like now, there's a lot of things that Ricky and I cannot eat because it is just too sweet. The cinnamon rolls are bordering on too sweet, but they're so
Okay.
good.
I know.
They're so good. When I eat something that's like somebody else made and they put a lot of sugar, I just can't do it.
Okay.
I've cut way back on sugar, and I love sweet tea, and there's certain restaurants that we went to that I love their tea. I can't stand it now.
I know.
I'm realizing, no wonder I loved it, it was syrup.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, it's gonna make me sick.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I just drink unsweetened tea.
I got salt water with lemon now.
Yeah.
That's me. I don't drink tea.
Yeah.
Good.
Lemon's good. Lemon's good. It helps you detox. So
I need one more.
What'd you say about detox?
lemon helps you detox. You know, like drink your lemon water in the morning.
You and Andrew are so similar. Not just the lemon water thing, but y'all.
You think it's a Armstrong thing?
He is very full of stuff, like only raw honey, like.
I haven't always been that way though.
He's all, I don't know why. I guess he's fascinated with it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, for myself, a lot of people have testimonies about, oh, I was cured of this and cured of that, and I wasn't really sick, But all my life, I watched my mom and daddy do the yo-yo diet, up and down, every little thing that came along. I lost both of my parents to cancer. And I decided that if I could avoid it or prolong it
Yeah.
before I got it, that I would like to do that. Because my dad died when he was 52, and my mom was 72. So she lived 20 years longer, but she died of pancreatic cancer. He had lymphoma. So I started looking, even when my dad had cancer, he was diabetic. So I thought, there's got to be something. And I started looking at stuff, but we didn't have the internet.
Oh.
So you can't get very far without the internet. So
Right.
I couldn't find a whole lot that was really helpful at that time.
Well, where'd you get your little pants
Little pants, I ordered them on Amazon. Let me go through the rest of this.
The one you roll your bread on.
Those little things I just took off the
Yeah.
counter. One of them came from Temu.
You can get them
I
at
don't
Dollar
remember where
Tree.
the other one came
Some
from.
of them,
They're- You can get them
Dollar
everywhere.
Tree's got those
Do they
clear
have
ones.
them?
Yeah. These are
Big Dollar Tree over here.
I know what these are.
$90.
silicone. I think these are silicone coated also.
Oh,
The dollar store, they have a lot of cool stuff, but you gotta really watch it because you want, like, if you're buying a spatula, you wanna make sure it's silicone and not nylon plastic. So,
I never even thought about that.
a lot of stuff you don't think about until you start looking and seeing. And really, the trouble in our country is convenience.
Yeah.
We want everything fast, we want everything now, and that translates into our food. But the grain resources that y'all are asking me about, I get most of mine from Bread Deckers. They do come in that 42-pound. They come in a plastic bucket, so I didn't have to buy an extra bucket. I just have to put the gamma lid on it. So what I do is, my first bucket, I put the gamma lid on it. Then when I order next time and it comes, I just pour it into the bucket that has the gamma lid on it. So I'm not buying the gamma lid every time. I just transfer it over. Until I open it, it just stays sealed without the gamma lid. But Bread Deckers is good. They do have a co-op. They deliver here in the area 3 times a year, and it's over near Burnsview Baptist Church, and a lady in one of those neighborhoods, Adder or something neighborhood. I think they all have Adder in them.
Station.
But anyway, she gets it all at her house. She divides it up in everybody's orders, and then she tells us it's ready, and we just go to her house and pick it up. The other one is Azure Standard, and they deliver in some different places. In Lyman, it's at Lyman Methodist Church. In Greer, it's at Mays Bridge Road at Apostolic Church, I think is what it's called. When I first started, I had to go all the way to Fountain Inn, but they've added more stops since then. Azure they have groceries. You can get your groceries from Azure. You just go, and the way that works, it comes in on a truck. So the truck comes, they open up the back, everybody gets in a line and starts helping unload the truck. It's all a community thing. Everybody's
Is
working.
that the one at Lyman?
So whoever's over that particular stop, there's one person that's in charge. She's already marked out places where it's like, put the A's here, the B's here, the C's there. So all these people are lining up, unloading the truck, putting it in alphabetical order. When the truck's completely unloaded, you can go and pick your stuff up and put it in your truck or your car or whatever you have. It's really cool community kind of thing. Everybody works together. But I think they come every month. If not every month, it's a month and a half. It's a real short time period. Oh, my brain's done. You can get stuff on Amazon. Wheat is heavy, so the shipping can get expensive. I don't have it on here. There's one called Pleasant Hill Grain that I heard about. It's an online store, and they have a flat $10 fee for shipping. So if you order 1 bucket, it's $10. If you order 5 buckets, it's $10. That's my understanding. Pleasant Hill Grain. Locally, Skyland Farms in Greer, up on 14 near my house, has hard red wheat. They only have the hard red. The Willow Hole Health Food Store on 290 in Greer sells little small bags of wheat, but to me that's a waste of time because that little small bag's gonna make one recipe and then you're gonna be back at the store again and buying more.
Oh, yeah.
So up front, you're gonna pay a little bit more to get the quantity, but you're not gonna be running back to the store all the time to get stuff. So the Dutch Country Foods in Landrum closed, but there is a new one called Eubanks, something, it's Eubanks. Somebody said they had it. I haven't been in there. I cannot attest to that, but there is another store open in Landrum. As far as close this way, I don't know of any place. If anybody hears of any place, please let me know because I always like to share that with people.
So where is Pleasant Hill Grange? You don't have the information?
It's an online. No, I don't have it
Oh,
on there.
online.
I just heard about it recently in their $10 thing. There's lots of them online. Pleasant Hill, Country Life Foods. I can't remember all the names. You can check the prices on all of them. What I do know about Bread Becker's is their grain is clean. There's not a whole lot of, I don't want to say it's dirty. It's an agricultural product. You know they're going to be going through the field and they're going to get stuff. There are occasionally going to be seeds of other plants, especially if you're buying organic, you might get a few weed seeds in there. Nothing that's inedible, but I like to just see my grain. And in the past, when I've ordered grain, I've had to like pick through and pick the other seeds out. Bread Becker's is always clean. I think one time I found a lentil in there because they sell beans too, and they sell in bulk, so they're gonna, it was just a lentil. I knew what it was, I just chunked it out. I could have left it in, it would have added some protein to my bread.
Yeah.
But that's why I stick with them, because I know it's clean and I trust their product. And what they do also, especially if you're gonna buy extra, when they put it in that plastic bucket and they put the lid on it, they inject carbon dioxide into it. And that would kill, if there was any larva for bugs or whatever that it might have been in there, it would kill that because there wouldn't be any air for them to multiply. So you don't have to worry about bugs growing in your wheat. So that's another plus for them. But check your prices. Go with whatever's best for you. They sell organic and non-organic. It used to be, you have to watch this now because there's talk of it, none of the grain in the United States could be sprayed with pesticides because other countries will not buy it if it's sprayed with pesticides. That doesn't mean they don't do something to control the weeds. It's not 100% organic, but it's not been sprayed, so you're pretty safe whether it's organic or not. But I did hear that they're trying to approve the use of some kind of stuff on spraying the wheat with something. You have to watch for that. Things change, so organic wouldn't have it at all, but local, like I said, Skyland Farms and that Willow Hole are the only two places I know for sure that you can buy it. You cannot, unless it's a recent thing, you cannot get the grain at Whole Foods.
Okay.
So you have to keep checking their bulk bins. They might start putting some in bulk bins, but I don't go there very often. So the last time I was there, they didn't have any, but you can check. YouTube favorites, The Biblical Nutritionist is good. Bread Becker's is good. Bread Becker's has a lot of, on their podcast, there's a lot of testimonies about people who thought they couldn't eat bread, but they eat the freshly milled bread and they don't have those issues with the gluten intolerance and all of that you hear about because they're getting all the nutrition. The Biblical Nutritionist is actually a net reader that wrote the Bible study that I have on the table back there. Grains in Small Places, this lady lives in a camper. And her and her family travel around in their camper and they make fresh milled bread, and she does videos and puts on YouTube. She uses an oven that sits on her counter. She doesn't use like the oven that comes in your camper. I don't know if anybody uses those. I have never gotten anything to work in my camper. But she has one that sits on the counter and she bakes her bread in there. She doesn't use a bread machine like that. But if you think, I don't have room to make bread, sorry, she makes it in a camper.
Wow.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Don't use that for an excuse. Grains and Grit is good. She's the lady that was in Florida that I mentioned earlier. And I think I put this one on your handout, but if not, write Lovely Bell Bakes. That is where the pizza dough recipe comes from, Lovely Bell Bakes. It's B-E-L-L-E. Her pizza dough is good, her tortillas are good, fresh whole wheat tortillas are so good. And my boys they like to make quesadillas. Your kids would like that, cheese quesadillas.
Okay.
So those are good. All of those are good. Then for health information, the biblical nutritionist and Jenny Brandt, the one that wrote the book about cancer, she's got some good health and nutrition information too. There's more. These are just ones that I refer to and that I've come to trust, because sometimes you hear stuff and you're like, not so sure. And I don't go with it. If I hear it one time on the internet, that's not enough for me. I have to know that it's right. So these are ones that I can trust. So the foods that were listed in Genesis that I read about grass, that's the vegetation, that's your vegetables. And let me get this out.
Look at there.
Look at that.
Hopefully it won't fall. You want to take your bread out of the pan.
Mine's the cricket wood.
Making sure I didn't have anything in the oven. I get sidetracked, forget what I'm doing. When you bake bread, you want to take it out of the pan. You don't want to leave it in the pan because it could sweat and get soggy. So this one's a little hard to dump out, but
That's pretty.
That is pretty nice.
wait till you see how big it is.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yum.
Now that's what you serve for your family.
That's a 2-pound loaf.
Yeah. Okay.
No wonder you needed that slicer.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is too tall for the slicer. I'm gonna leave it on the side because it is kind of tall, but we'll sit it up in a minute and we'll cut it and have a slice. But you can see how tall it is, so if you cut a slice of it, that's too much. If you ate a sandwich with 2 slices of that bread, oh Lord,
Yeah,
you would be
not
way too
good.
full. So we cut a slice and we cut the slice in half
Yeah,
and make
sandwich.
a 1 slice sandwich that's like 2. So this is an
Oh,
option. There's paddles in the bottom. Let me show you what it,
Moved up here, that.
there's little paddles in the bottom that knead it for you.
Oh.
So that's what this is. If you're watching it and you know when it's fixing to, after the second rise, you can dig around in there and pull those paddles out if you want to. If these holes bother you, you can do that. I don't do that because I'm usually not babysitting it.
Yeah.
And you can see it tore a little bit of the, it tore a little bit of the bread off and made that bigger hole. But
Everybody knows that hole's in there. Right side up.
it's an option if you work, and it's an option if you don't have time to be in your kitchen all the time. And it's a good option because the bread's still good, but there's a few things that you need to know about.
Yeah.
Do you make your, well, no, I guess you bake your pizza dough, never mind. I was gonna say, okay, if you throw all your ingredients in there and it's like kneading it and stuff, can you do it to a setting where it doesn't start baking it? As if I wanted to like,
It has a dough setting.
okay,
What it has is it has 2 memory cycle. I think there's 3 memory cycles. I know 2 for sure. So memory 1, I set to bake the bread. Memory
okay,
2, I set to make my dough.
okay,
So if I wanted to make rolls,
okay.
then that would be where I would set it. and then it would, after the first rise, it would tell you it was ready. There's also some noises that happen periodically, and if you have those set in your memory, you can, when you hear it beep, you could go add raisins and make raisin bread.
Huh.
That's when you would add that, or nuts, or
Oh, wow.
something
Okay.
like that. So it'll tell you if you're around to hear it. If you're
Okay.
not around, it's not going to be any
I will
good.
be probably just
So,
somewhere in my yard.
trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and even if you don't work and you want to have one of these would be great in your camper to bake your bread. When the power went out, we didn't have power for days. Ricky had it's a jackery that provided power, and it provided power for me to grind my wheat and bake bread in here. So we had bread the whole time that the power was out.
Well, that was good.
So I have a gas stove, but you can't use your gas stove because the setting is electric.
Right, so if you've got that thing right there, you don't need that mixer.
No, if you just want to make bread
Yeah.
like this, you won't need the mixer.
Right.
And this is comparable in price to a mixer. You do have to have this, no matter what.
Yeah,
have to
you gotta
this.
have a meal.
But yeah, you could do it that way.
So I'll have it.
That's definitely an option. So anyway, back to the list of foods. In Genesis 1, the grass, the vegetation that I read about, that's your vegetables. You need 5 to 7 of those a day. Raise your hand if you get 5 to 7 vegetables a day. Not me.
Not me.
I try very hard, but the herb yielding seed would be your nuts, your whole grains, your legumes, and beans. And you have legumes and beans are not necessarily the same thing. And if you read up on that, beans are legumes, but all legumes are not beans.
Why do they say black beans are good for you? I can't.
They are
stand
good.
things.
Oh, they're good.
I mean, ooh.
So any of your beans would be good for you, and a great way to add some protein into your diet. And if you fix a bowl of beans and have a roll or a piece of cornbread on the side, it's good. And this will mine will grind corn. So I make my own cornmeal to make my cornbread with, and it is super fantastic.
What kind of meal, corn, you have to get it.
It's dried corn.
Dried corn.
What do you call those, nuggets?
Nuggets.
Dried corn nuggets, I don't know. But that one, well, you have to read, because you change the settings on the side for that. You want to go a little,
So,
not so fine.
Can you do different things?
I could grind it and make my own grits, and it'll grind the beans to make bean flour.
Don't do coffee beans, does it?
No coffee, anything with oil, no nuts,
Okay.
no coffee, no seeds, because they have oils. This one won't. Some of them will, but this particular one won't. So make sure, like I said, read your directions. Don't say, Deniece did it. You might have a different meal.
Deniece did it.
So anyway, that herb yielding seed, the tree yielding fruit. For those herb yielding seed, the nuts, whole grains, legumes, and beans, you need 3 to 5 a day. For the for the tree yielding fruit, you need 2 to 3 a day. And those are the healthiest foods that people can eat. Because in their natural form, which we talked about the wheats in its natural form, they contain nutrients necessary for your body to be perfectly balanced. This information isn't in there. This is an addition. So if you want to learn more about healthy eating and the foods to eat, the Bible study that I have back there, The Treasures of Healthy Living by Annette Reeder and Dr. Cooey, is very good. It's a study of the scriptures in the Bible that talk about food, and then she talks about why those foods are healthy. A lot of people think we don't have to listen to all those laws that were listed about that God gave the Jews, don't eat this, don't eat that. She explains the purpose behind all of that, and when you start looking at that, just say for one, the pork. They were told not to eat pork. We eat pork today. We even buy it and it says organic, but you can't really change an animal. That pig eats feces. It eats the feces of all the animals in the barnyard if it's exposed to them, and their flesh carries toxins. But until you look at it from that perspective, you're thinking, oh, it's organic. Yes, It is, but that's what they eat. So anyway, it breaks it all down for you and tells you a lot of things like that. And then at the second half of the study is more environmental, like the cleaning products you use and stuff like that. It contains more of that, but it's all based on God's Word, and the principles are eat food the way that God provided the food for you. Eat them as close to the way that God provided them as possible. We're eating this wheat that God provided, but we're making the bread with it. So this would be principle 2, but it's as close to the way God provided it because we didn't take away anything that He put in it, right? And then the third principle is don't let any food become an addiction, whether it's sugar, caffeine, I don't know what other things, chocolate, anything people get addicted to and say, I can't live without it, that's an addiction. And addictions can sneak up on you. Because I just realized that I'm addicted to caffeine. Because my husband went out of town and took the coffee pot, and then by the next afternoon I had the worst headache ever. And I couldn't figure out why I had a headache, because I don't ever get headaches. And then I remembered I didn't have any caffeine. So
That's why my head.
I didn't mean to be addicted to it, but apparently I'm addicted to it.
Well, that's it.
So don't cut your bread right when you take it out. That's why I'm letting this sit here. If you cut it too soon, it'll be like gummy. So I'm going to let it sit until we finish this, and then we'll slice it, and hopefully it won't be too bad because it smells good. So just to end, to tie everything up for us, I put an excerpt in here from an email blog type thing from Wardy Harmon, and she has traditional cooking school. She charges for her school, but she does do a blog, and I read it, and she has a lot of good information. She's very biblically based also. But she says, to God be the glory. It's why we live the way we do and eat the way we do. Not to follow rules, but to recognize the author of all good in the world, God. To choose His foods as a way to give Him glory for His perfect design. Yes, we live in a broken world. Yes, we're sick and suffering. Yes, He doesn't promise to fix everything while we're still here on earth. And yet we praise Him and we choose Him, even down to what we eat. Again, not to check off boxes, but because to God be the glory. He gave us these good things. We should take advantage of those good things that He gave us. And the food that's in the grocery store does not fit those principles. So I put a couple other things in there. There's a quote from Robert Murray McShane. Says, take heed to thyself. Your own soul is your first and greatest care. When we talk about biblical health, it's about our spiritual health as well, because we're spiritual and we're physical, and if you're not healthy in either of those areas, you're not going to experience the health that you want. A sound body alone can work with power, but much more a healthy soul. And then 3 John 1:2 says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. 3 John 1:2. So that's pretty much the end of our class. I always like to end it with Isaiah 55:2. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which doesn't satisfy or satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight in fatness. That's God's word.
Yay! Good job, Deniece.
Thank you. Let me get my knife and I'll cut this. And I have some real butter. I'll get us a knife for the real butter. If this will fit. See how tall it is?
I think they're doing good.
So, I don't know if this is going to work for this. We're probably going to have to cut it without.
There you go.
Arlo's are still in the oven, aren't they? Yeah.
No, they haven't gone in yet. I got to pop them in there. We have to let them double in size. Can y'all see?
That's right.
So I'm going to pop this in the oven while we eat the bread.
That's the step that I'll forget, I think.
Me too. I'm sorry, I'm hungry. They should be done by now.
That's why I think that bread maker might be my girl. She's my girl.
Me too.
Press that button.
But you don't have to make that much bread in it. Can you make it smaller?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, can you make a 1 pound loaf in that? What's the
In
smallest
this
you
one?
can make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 1 pound didn't turn out good. I kind of tweaked the recipe a little bit and did like 1.5 pounds, and it was much better. It wasn't as tall. But when you're doing the math and trying to get the recipe just right, it's a little, if you're good at that, you can do that. So we're gonna give those little loaves 20 minutes and we'll check them. Usually at home it takes me about 25 minutes, but this oven seems to be a little bit hotter, so.
Susie's dad tore up my glasses.
Jane,
I don't have to do that.
how much was the glasses?
Yeah, this is dog store.
So you got those first, just that one, I just cut through those folders. Isn't that neat?
This is too tall for this one. I'm just not gonna cut it. We'll just have to do the best we can to get slices. This is just too tall. And it's still hot, so. All right, who wants the first slice?
Wow.
I do.
Some butter.
Yeah.
Not milk down.
Just some butter.
Honey.
There's a napkin
Need
right
some
there.
butter. Cow syrup.
I was gonna say honey.
There's one. There's some butter.
Oh, that's butter.
Deniece?
There you go. All righty.
Jane, hand me your water. I'll fix yours.
It would be not quite as hard to cut if we let it cool off away, but who can wait? This thing folds flat, by the way.
Ah!
That'll fold up underneath so you can store it. So I'm gonna lay those right
Right here with
there. It's nice and warm.
I'm about to fall asleep, y'all. Just because I'm just eating all the breads.
And this is the same dough that we made ours out of.
Yes.
Same combination.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's.
And that is, you said,
It's half hard white and half hard lace. Is that what you said?
yes.
I didn't, sorry. I just want to make sure I answered you correctly.
Power. That's mine. And this is the recipe that you've given me a loaf for. Okay.
Did everybody get some?
You said you let your phone at home.
They found
This
his
is
hip was
yours.
broken.
What is yours?
Oh,
And
here's your,
he
was that your
had surgery.
Take it.
Janice?
She didn't really say if he's still in the hospital or not.
Just got way too much butter.
Too much butter, what's that?
I know.
Where is that picture of that recipe you saved with me? I'll have to go to J.R.'s game.
It's a blueberry
That's the one.
Didn't say she kids.
They get right there. And I'll have to send it to my phone, 'cause can you believe I didn't bring my telephone? Okay,
Janice without a phone.
Janice, with my
What?
phone.
That is so good.
Who can imagine?
Now, Pastor Ricky, the world's coming to an end. I said, tell Pastor Ricky the world's coming to an end, Janice with my telephone. I put it on yours and I
So what do you
sent
think?
it to me.
Love it.
My doctor or mine, he wouldn't know the case. You'll have to order me another one. Pee-wee. I left it laying one night to go get a hamburger. And guess what?
Now, does each grain
But I want hamburger.
have
No,
a different
make my
nutrition? I've seen some of that. Each one's got a little bit different nutrition.
Where's mine?
And they'll be a little bit different too.
Where is mine?
Like kamut is a form of wheat, but it's different, and spelt is a form of wheat, but it's different from these. So, you just, each one you would just look it up. What you need, Jean?
She's lost her. Find that bread by.
Is it this?
Yeah, that's it. Yes, that's
No.
it.
That one might be Janice's, she might have
No,
yours.
Janice's got hers.
I wrote on yours, Jean, that's yours.
No short down there.
You wrote on mine.
This is yours.
Would y'all like some water?
Oh, that's your writing.
I would.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get it.
Got it.
I'm already Googling the workaround.
Okay. Yeah, I got
I didn't think about it. Now,
It's just smaller
So I said
quantities,
water,
but
nobody realized they were thirsty.
I just made like a batch of rolls or something.
So does anybody have any questions while our, bread's cooking?
You did real good.
This seems to be not as, that over there seemed to be a little nuttier, like had
More wheat,
more wheat or something, where this is really tiny.
more rainbow.
Yeah, it was all made with the same, so I don't know. I don't know.
Have you ever heard of somebody using a coffee grinder to grind the beans?
You can grind them in a coffee grinder, some blenders you could grind them in, but getting the fineness that you would want
You
for
would need it from a mill.
bread, yeah.
Would you still get the nutrients if you used it?
But the flour's gonna be so grainy that your bread's not gonna be smooth like
Yeah.
this.
I'm thinking of makeshift until we can get to Christmas.
Do you have a KitchenAid mixer? No?
Look
you
on
can buy-
Marketplace.
You can buy an attachment for a KitchenAid. That will grind
Goodwill
it,
and find them.
Really?
but it's not gonna be as nice as this.
I do like that. It'll just have to be over time, I think, as I like. But if I can do like a little makeshift, okay, I'm gonna make dinner rolls
You could
tonight.
get this and make muffins, pancakes,
Yeah.
things like that, before you started making the bread.
That's true. That's kind of what I'm thinking. If I could, cause like, they just love those little, it's just more for the boys and us, but they just love those little things they can hold in their hands, or I can give them in the car while we're driving, like that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. John David liked the blueberry lemon
Oh,
muffins.
he would love those.
He did.
I mean, yeah.
Take some water, y'all. I apologize about the water. Y'all just have to tell me if I'm not. I'm gonna take one more piece. Is that okay? Yeah.
you might want your water. Oh, y'all got water? We got water.